Uh, hey guys, this is RBS 13. I've never done this in a while, so I'm doing the Indian. I'm gonna read the Indian in the cupboard. Yeah, I'm using a phone flashlight, so that's why you see the glare for this episode. Now this time I'm gonna read from the beginning. From on page 1. So this is gonna be my official RBS. So, birthday presents. It was not that Omri didn't appreciate Patrick's birthday present to him. Far from it. He was really very grateful, sort of. It was without a doubt very kind of Patrick to give Omri anything at all, let alone a second-hand plastic Indian that he himself had finished with. The trouble was, though, that Omri was getting a little fed up with small plastic figures, of which he had loads. Biscuits, tins full, probably 3 or 4 if they were all put away at the same time, which they never were, because most of the time they were scattered about in the bathroom, the loft, the kitchen, and the breakfast room. Not to mention Omri's bedroom and the garden, the compost heap was full of soldiers, which over several autumns had been racked up with the leaves by Omri's mother, who was rather careless about such things. Omri and Patrick had spent many hours together playing with their joint collections of plastic toys. But now they'd had about enough of them, at least for the moment. And that was why when Patrick brought his presents to school on Omri's birthday, Omri was disappointed. He tried not to show it, but he was. "Do you really like him?" asked Patrick as Omri stood silently with the Indian in his hand. "Yes, he's fantastic," said Omri. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Omri. In only slightly flattish voice. "I haven't got an Indian." "I know. I haven't got any cowboys either." "Nor have I. That's why I couldn't play anything with him." Omar opened his mouth to say, "I won't be able to either," but thinking that might hurt Patrick's feelings, he said nothing, but the Indian in his pocket and forgot about it. After school there was a family tea, and all of the excitement of his presents from his parents and his 2 older brothers. He got his dearest wish, a skateboard complete with kickboard and kryptonic wheels from his mom and dad. and from his eldest brother. Idle a helmet, Gillen, his other brother, hadn't bought him anything because he had no money. His pocket money had been stopped some time ago in connection with a very unfortunate accident involving their father's bicycle. So when Gillen's turn came to give Omri a present, Omri was very surprised when a large parcel was put before him. Untidily, wrapped in brown paper and string. What is it? Have a look. I found it in the alley. The alley was narrow passage that ran along the bottom of the garden, where the dustbin stood. The three boys used to play there sometimes and occasionally found treasures. Other perhaps richer neighbors had thrown away, so Omri was quite excited as he tore off the paper. Inside was a small white metal cupboard with a mirror. In the door, the kind you see over the basins in old-fashioned bathrooms. You might suppose Omri would get another disappointment about this because the cupboard was fairly plain and, except for a shelf, completely empty. But oddly enough, he was very pleased with it. He loved cupboards of any sort because of the fun of keeping things in them. He was not a very tidy boy in general, but he did like arranging things in cupboards and drawers, and then opening them later and finding them just as he left them. I do wish it locked, he said. You might say thank you before you start complaining, said Gillen. It's got a keyhole, said their mother, and I've got a whole box full of keys. Why don't you try all of the smaller ones and see if any of them fit? Most of the keys were much too big, but there were half a dozen that were about the right size. All but one of these were very ordinary. The unordinary one was the most interesting key in the whole collection. Small was the complicated lock part of and fancy top. A narrow strip of red satin ribbon was looped through one of its curly openings. Omri saved that key to the last. None of the other fitted, and at last he picked up the curly topped key and carefully put it in the keyhole on the cupboard door, just below the knob. He did hope very much that it would turn, and regretted wasting his birthday cake cutting wish on something so silly, or rather unlikely as that he might pass his spelling test next day, which it would take real magic to bring about, as he hadn't even looked at the neat. Alright guys, this is the end of this episode. Alright, later.